Well, in the present, one of the most important things that we're doing with the Capitol Hill Library and the Capitol Hill Community Technology Center is that we are in a partnership, and what we do is that we teach computers, our computer application, to the members of the community, and not only this community, but then all the other communities around this neighborhood. And what we do is they refer people to us, and then we teach computer applications to members of the community, as I said.
In so many ways, we are so proud to have a Capitol Hill Library around us because they help us with different programs. They help moms with the English as a second language classes. They help the little children that they don't know to speak English with the reading and writing classes. Now they have been thinking how the Hispanic community needs to find a job in this new society with a lot of technology, and they have been putting up the computer classes. So we are teaching the people how to get access to the internet, how to use the computer, and that way when they go to a job and somebody asks, do you know how to use the computer, at least they say yes. They learn it in their own language, in Spanish. Some of them are not able to do it in English, so we offer the classes in Spanish. They feel comfortable because this is the area where the Latino community gather for socialization, for learning process. I'm so happy because we have this library, and I want to tell you again that. And I really appreciate the way how Philip and the people around here help all my Hispanic community.
Well, it's just my second home. I love to read. I was one of 11 children, and I was right in the middle. And the older ones never did have time for me, and the younger ones were jealous of me. So my father taught me to read when I was 5 years old. He spent time with me. He was a minister, and he taught me to read the Bible. So then I started sneaking in my older sister's rooms and getting their novels and reading them. So by the time I was 7, I was a confirmed novel reader. Everything interested me, and so the first place I looked for when I moved was a good library, and I found this one. It's been my second home. They've been so nice to me, so helpful, and I pick up probably 20 or 30 books a month to read.
The Capitol Hill Library has a lot to offer to the local community, i.e., we have a multicultural community here that speak English and Spanish. The literature that is offered in this library appeals to both nationalities because many of the people here do not speak English, so they have to read the literature in Spanish to have an idea of what's going on.
Capitol Hill was my library growing up when I was a child. And then in 1973, I became a part-time employee. In 1976, I became a full-time employee. And and at this point, I have not worked in the library itself. I've worked in the office since then. So literally, I've been here over half my life. It means a lot to me. I mean, the furniture, even though it's been refinished, is the same furniture as when I was a child. So I have this very warm feeling of this library. I'm not the only one because being an employee here, people will come in the library that's visiting relatives, and they just want to come in because they remember the library when they were here, and they want to see it, and they have that connection. And I've given library cards to children, and they come in as adults and give their child their library cards. And they feel like, very proudly, they will say, this is where I got my library card, and it's this connection that they want to pass on to their children.
It's very encouraging to see when I come here in the afternoons to see all the young people working the computer, bilingual. So it's encouraging, and the library has to, as an institution, to be adaptable to its populations, however changing they are.
My earliest memories of the Capitol Hill Library were as a place to meet our friends, but then also to get thrown out and told never to come back. So it wasn't always the most welcoming of places when I was a teenager. It's kind of ironic that then in later years I went to school and was looking for a part-time job, and so I applied at the library and I went to work at the Belle Isle Library, and that was in the late 60s. And in 1974, this library was, I guess, a stepping stone on my career, because I came here as an assistant library manager and worked here and then was promoted to library manager in 1975.
Well, when I started for the library system, I started on April 4th, 1966, and started in this building in the bookmobile department. Capitol Hill will always be a special place, certainly in my heart, because it's been a big part of my career with the library system. In my 36th year here, and the majority of that has been spent in this building. So it means an awful lot to me.
I was in and out all the time. I take part in the crafts, I take parts in the books. In fact, I just picked up a book that I hope makes me more knowledgeable than what I was when I came in. And I wouldn't be a happy person if I couldn't go to find me a book. And anything I hear about on the TV or read in the magazine or the Sunday newspaper, why, I come looking for it. And I've got word that 3 or 4 of the ladies and the girls both joined. And we have a lady who does traveling with the crafts and things out of the main library, that because as I am a senior citizen, why, I take parts in all kinds of crafts. And it's just part of my life.
Well, the Capitol Hill Library has been very important to me. I wasn't raised in the Capitol Hill area, but I moved to the area in 1958, and I've been coming to this library for over 42 years. And my husband and I did crafts for Cub Scout den mothers, and I would come to the library and go to the children's section and find books that had things to make in them that 8 and 10-year-old boys could do. So that was a big help to me.
It's a bilingual community, of course, now. When I first started here, we had lots of families coming in for story time, because I was a children's librarian and a children's specialist. And it has changed, because now we were servicing more the daycare centers, like Next Generation Celebrations, which is a bilingual educational program for preschoolers. And we mainly service all the area schools, which we have a lot of elementary schools in this area. And so the focus has kind of changed somewhat, because when I started here, it was more younger people with young babies and preschoolers. And as time went on, I guess they moved on, and so it became more senior citizens and the Hispanic community.
I think you can mold a child in any way you want them to go by watching what they read, the videotapes that they look at. I was talking to my hairdresser just this afternoon, and she was telling me she came from a family of 9, and Capitol Hill was her library. She said they were so poor that she would have had really very little education, very little insight into what the world was like had she not had Capitol Hill to fall back on.
The young ones can go to the library, and from the very early age on up, as well as we older folks can, and find out knowledge that otherwise we was not able to do. And I think we have a lot brighter students because of the library systems.
I've been a librarian here for 14 years, and I've seen the community change and us change and still be a part of the neighborhood. We have many more Hispanics now, and I found it very interesting that 3 years ago, our Hispanic circulation in Spanish language books went up 7%. 2 years ago, it went up an amazing 68%. and last year it went up 7%. So, I feel like we're really keeping up with the changes.
Over the time that I've been associated with the library system, I've seen how the Spanish language collection has grown really, enormously, and because they realized that that would be a better way to keep serving the community and to do it in bigger and better ways.
Clarence Payne was the librarian at the time they decided to build a library out here. And he said he would, it wouldn't be just a branch library, it would be a library for a town of 75,000, which we were. And that was the time that it came to pass. It was in a bond issue. And they drew up the plans and they finally got it underway. One of the guy that owned the property here, the Chamber of Commerce, paid him something to guarantee that the property would not be sold to somebody else until they could get the library built. There was a fellow named Roger Jones on the land, and it was a cooperative thing with the community.
I talk to people every day that have been to school here in the years past and have grown up in this library. I've come to Story Hour and had the children being read to as children, and then they bring their children to this area too, to this library. And it's very important to the Capitol Hill. When it was more of a thriving community, when it was built, then it's kind of declined for a while, and now it's coming back as an area, and I think that's great. I love that. And now we have a different population that we had before. We have a largely Hispanic population, and I like that because I get to use my Spanish I learned in college. I thought I would never use.
The incredible thing about the library here, the staff helped me a whole bunch. First of all, they had classes here that taught you, let's say, Spanish. And I needed Spanish because a lot of my customers speak Spanish. And then also, I didn't know a thing about computers, and I wanted to go in the computer industry. I mean, get on the internet and everything. So they provided some classwork here, and I learned how to surf the web, so to speak. And I started using the computer here on a regular basis because I didn't have one at home. But the incredible thing about the whole thing is that a person can go any place in the world without leaving home, without having to worry about packing a bag, without having to worry about buying tickets. But you've got CDs, you've got audios, you've got videos, you've got books, you've got just about everything here. Like, for instance, I've been fortunate enough to go to Europe to visit my son. Before I'd go, I'd check out the various books on Athens and Thessaloniki and things like that. So I knew what I wanted to do before I got there. So what the library means to me is just a lot of open doors to any place I want to go.
My grandparents' house is across the street. My parents owned the house next door. When I graduated from college, I lived next door. And I thought maybe some people probably would wonder why it was called Capitol Hill Branch Library. The Capitol isn't here. It's in the northeast part of Oklahoma City. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. When I was a kid growing up, I wondered why they called it Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. We were in Capitol Hill, and that wasn't here. Well, as I grew older, I found out that my grandfather was a politician. He came in 1911 to Oklahoma City and settled in Capitol Hill. In 1910, they had an election to decide where they were going to fund the Capitol and where the money was going to come from, and they would decide later where the Capitol was actually going to be built. So between 1910 and 1915, 2 years of which my grandfather was in the legislature, they were actively involved in politics, where it was going to be in Oklahoma City and Guthrie and Shawnee. Those were the three contenders. Well, Oklahoma City won out, and then they had to decide where. The local politicians in Capitol Hill, my grandfather being one of them, decided if they got enough name stuck, they'd get the deal. So they named Capitol Junior High, Capitol Senior High, both during that period of time, changed the name of the town from Knob Hill or Gobbler's Knob to Capitol Hill. We used to have the Knob Hill Theater over here. I think that's part of the name, but they were Knob Hill before they became Capitol Hill. Once it became Capitol Hill, they proceeded to pursue all the politics. By 1915, it was all over. Somebody donated the land at 23rd and Lincoln, and the Capitol went out there. But for 50 to 60 years after that, the name stuck. If somebody asked you where you were from Capitol Hill, and it was the south side of town. And And that's just the way it was. There was Uptown, Downtown, and Capitol Hill.
But I worked out here for 7 years in the mid-'80s, and the thing that I remember the most about Capitol Hill always is the very small town feeling. Capitol Hill is right in the middle of Oklahoma City, but it feels like a small community, and the customers that would come into the library were basically people that liked the extra service that we were able to give them because we were a small community library, and we got to know a lot of the customers by name, and we got to know their reading interests, and that's what I remember most about working at Capitol Hill. It's a small town location.
I do enjoy it when I work in the flower bed, and people will stop to make comments about how much they enjoy the flowers in the flower beds. And yet lately, I really have been enjoying the great fiestas the Hispanic community has been putting on. And they have wonderful parades. And so there's been a lot of change in this area, but a lot of it for good.
I went to high school at the Capitol Hill High School. They were doing the integration of the public schools, and it was called the Finger Plan back then. And so I was bused from the northeast part of Oklahoma City to the Capitol Hill High School in the 70s. And I went to the Capitol Hill High School, and it was a little bit of a turbulent time in our history as we were trying to come together and deal with those changes that we were going through as a community of people. And as a result of that, I found some of the most enjoyable places to be were either in the music room or in the library. And I found that the library was a more calm place. It was very nice to be there. The people were nice to be around. And it inspired me, among other things, to become a librarian. And I've seen this community come around. There's been a lot of change going on. The Latino community is really enjoying it here. And we've tried to make it a very nice place to come to. And I've enjoyed working here all these years, and I hope to continue.